Hi everyone, this is the time of year we celebrate Earth Day. This year's theme is the Restore the Earth. It's the 51st anniversary, and we have been quite fortunate to be able to assemble a whole series of speakers, eminent speakers, to bring forward some of these messages. The themes we are going to be looking at is climate action involving youth, the biodiversity of Bukit Kiara, which is of course very important to Friends of Bukit Kiara, looking at community action and what we can do to save green lungs, and finally looking at the whole issue of climate emergency and the kind of efforts which are going on in the country for restoration. The fact that you're here means you care, which is fantastic. So we'd like very much for you to take the next logical step. Come and join us in FoBK or all the green lung organizations you are in contact with, so that you can start to make a difference with us. And you can become citizen scientists, volunteer your services, or very importantly help to raise funds so that we can take this message across to the rest of the country. If you're interested, please look at our contact points below and don't hesitate to call. We'll be very happy to welcome you. Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome everybody. Happy Earth Day and Happy Earth Week. Welcome to today's webinar which is on Firefly biodiversity, mysteries and ecology. In today's webinar, we will be looking at the fascinating subject of fireflies. My name is Koay. I'm the moderator for today's webinar. I'm part of Friends of Bukit Kiara. Now, fireflies are mesmerizing insects due to their ability to produce light. Their display of light at night continues to fascinate people and scientists alike. In Malaysia, fireflies in large numbers display light on trees along riverbanks are very popular. The firefly colonies in Kuala Selangor, for example, are well known and well visited. At the same time, not many may be aware that there are other types of fireflies that thrive in the forests. For a country that has a rich diversity of living things, Malaysian forests harbor a considerable number of firefly species. They are more numerous in shapes, sizes, and light display patterns, reflecting their higher biodiversity and unique relationships with our forests. During today's webinar, there will be a sharing of insights into these fascinating creatures. Learn about what makes a firefly, and how these creatures actually look up close. Get an introduction to the variety of shapes, sizes, and behaviors of fireflies, and learn the difference between the famous congregating fireflies of the mangrove swamps and the more elusive solitary fireflies that can be found in inland forests. Up to date on recent findings on the ecological puzzle of Bukit Kiara's fireflies and how you can participate in citizen science programs to help solve these ecological puzzles. It's going to be a fun webinar today. Now, today's webinar is organized as part of Think City Institute's overall calendar of events for Earth Day 2021. This is delivered in collaboration with various partners, i.e. Friends of Bukit Kiara, Fashion Revolution Week 2021, and Habitat Penang Hill. Today's webinar focus on fireflies is also made possible with financial support from the GEF Small Grants Program under the United Nations Development Program, and the partnership of Forest Research Institute of Malaysia, FRIM, Urban Biodiversity Initiative, UBI, Malaysian Nature Society, and Jabatan Landscape Negara. all of whom are collaborating with Friends of Bukit Kiara on a project known as the Magical Mysteries at Bukit Kiara. This groundbreaking project is a first-time technical study of the firefly colonies that have been discovered and observed around Bukit Kiara, which will also involve the training and development of a citizen scientist program. Here is the overall calendar for Earth Week, which you can download from the chat box. Feel free to explore the calendar by clicking the link that is at the bottom right corner. Before I introduce the speakers, here are some housekeeping notes. Our format today will be that our two speakers will present for about 15 minutes each, and we'll follow that with the Q&A session. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat box that you can see to the right of the screen, and please indicate which speaker it is for. Our time is limited, so the earlier you ask your question, the more chance you have of it being answered. A final note before I introduce our speakers: if you have connection issues, press the reconnect button at the top of the screen, and if you're still having problems, then refresh your browser. And if all goes well, you'll be reconnected. Now, may I invite our first speaker, Dr. Nada Badruddin, to come on board. Good afternoon, Dr. Nada. Hi.
Hello, Leon.
Thanks for joining us today, Doctor.
It's a pleasure being here together.
Great to have you with us. A quick introduction about Dr. Nada Badruddin. Dr. Nada was appointed by Forest Research Institute Malaysia, FRIM, as a research officer to work on fireflies in Sungai Selangor. Her research was focused on understanding the larval stage, which is the lesser known life stage of the congregating firefly. She was also a part of a team that developed a non-destructive method to monitor the congregating firefly population of Sungai Selangor. The method continues to be used to monitor the firefly population in the area until today. Later, Dr. Nada expanded her research scope to include identifying the biodiversity of the tropical inland forest fireflies, i.e. the solitary type fireflies, and the ecological influences moderating their distribution. This firefly group is relatively understudied compared to the congregating fireflies. And from her study, information on Malaysian firefly species and how species composition can vary with habitat characteristics has become better understood. And through this study, which forms part of her doctoral research work, 5 new firefly species have been discovered. Today, Dr. Nada is going to share in-depth insight into the nature and behavior of fireflies, and I can tell you that it is absolutely fascinating. Without further ado, Dr. Nada, over to you.
Thank you very much, Leon, for that splendid introductory. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you on this auspicious day. It's a nice weather. We are inside. I hope we are happy to go through understanding and knowing a bit more about the fireflies. So starting this talk, I will be touching on the firefly biodiversity. And as you know, when we say about fireflies, we relate it to the lights. But actually, when we want to know more about fireflies, there is actually more to fireflies than their lights. So to start it off, let's get to know the fireflies. So fireflies are insects of the beetle group under the Lampyridae family. And as an adult, when they flash their light, they are actually a form of communication that they are ready to find a partner or mating. And around the world, so far we have discovered and recorded more than 2,000 species. And in Malaysia, the records of fireflies are gradually increasing over the recent years, especially with local and international entomologists, taxonomists, and conservationists more interested to explore and study this special group of insects. So in Malaysia, there are the Malaysian fireflies can be defined into two groups of fireflies, and they are based on their habitat and light displaying behavior. So what are they? They are the solitary fireflies and the congregating fireflies. So these two groups of fireflies actually distinct from each other, and that's how they are separated into two groups. So what are their differences? Let's go through the characteristics. So first, solitary fireflies actually occupy a more numerous habitat types, and they can occur from the lowest forest area to the mountain tops, whereby for the congregating fireflies, they occupy only river estuaries. If you see here a diagram of the types of forests in our country across altitude, the solitary fireflies are present in all the different types of forests up to the highest point. And for the congregating fireflies, their habitat is more restricted to the sections of the river where the river experience water high tide and low tide caused by entrance of salt water from the sea and fresh water from upstream. In terms of their species diversity, the solitary fireflies have relatively higher species diversity as compared to the congregating fireflies. And if we are to enter an area where we can find solitary fireflies, location, we will be seeing around 5 to 7 species in one time as we walk along. As compared to the congregating fireflies, they usually occur on average 2 species in one area. Very seldom we see more than 3 species in an area. So this is an image of comparison of the diversity of the two groups of fireflies. As you can see, the congregating fireflies are all from the same genus. So Pteroptics are the same genus, but they are different. They are different in terms of the species. But if we look at the solitary fireflies, even at the genus level, they are very diverse. We will be seeing Diaphanous, Pyrocilia, Drylaster, Pygoluciola, Luciola, to name a few. And next, in terms of the number of their presence in one area, we could say that the solitary fireflies are lower in number, in their abundance within a habitat, but the congregating fireflies, they occur in a high number within a habitat. And the solitary fireflies and the congregating fireflies are different in terms of the behavior of their light display. So for the solitary fireflies, we would be seeing firefly that flies around, either glowing or flashing, and in solitary, as you can see here in the image on the left side. If you see the congregating firefly, they are in a large group, staying almost stationary on the canopy of trees that line the riverbank, and they flash in large number. So around the world, fireflies are at threat from human activities, namely fragmentation of their habitat, pressures from urbanization, and also pollution. And for low abundance organisms such as the solitary fireflies, this group of fireflies could be susceptible to habitat alteration and landscape modification. So before I go into the solitary fireflies, let me walk you through and introduce you to the congregating fireflies. So these congregating fireflies, how they are confined to the habitat of the areas that they occur in, globally, they are also restricted. So congregating fireflies are known to be confined in the areas of subtropical India across Southeast Asia region. So I would estimate that the coverage of the area that they are is about 10% of the land area of our world. and they also live along river banks with brackish water, and they could either exhibit synchronous flashing or non-synchronous flashing. What this means is that certain species, they stay in a group on tree, and they flash in unison, almost unison. Some congregating firefly, they also stay on trees, but they flash more randomly. So you will be seeing some flashing, and then one stop, and then another one flashing after that. So back in 2010, Malaysian Nature Society has identified a total of 96 congregating firefly zones in Malaysia so far. And from there, at least 11 of the sites are currently being used as a tourism site for firefly watching. So in Peninsular Malaysia, we could say that each state at least have one firefly watching area for the congregating fireflies. And finally, for the congregating fireflies in Peninsular Malaysia, there are 7 firefly species recorded so far, and the most popular being the Theraptix tenor. So this Theraptix tenor, why it is the most popular is because compared to the other species of congregating fireflies, they are more distributed around Malaysia, and therefore more popular, and more studies has been carried out focusing on this species. And one of the studies that we do is to identify the life cycle and the habitat requirements of this specific species of congregating fireflies. So for any fireflies, because they are from the beetle group, they would go through the complete metamorphosis of the egg, larva, pupa, and adult. And for the specific Theraptix tenor, it was identified that that life cycle is between 5 to 7 months, with 60% of the life spent as the predatory larva that lives in the natural vegetation of the riverbank and sustain food source by preying on small snails like the Cyclotropis carinta that you see here, a larva feeding on a very small snail, relatively same size as the larva itself. And when they are ready to go into adult stage, they would, the fully mature larva would pupate in an underground chamber and transform into an adult. The adult will then exit out from the ground and go to the display tree where that lines the river bank. So this is a good diagram that shows how congregating fireflies not only rely on the display trees, but they also need the areas at the back of the display trees further inland from the river to complete its whole life cycle. So as most of you would be aware, when it comes to firefly watching, the congregating fireflies are the popular one, and actually being used for firefly tourism, firefly watching tourism. Besides those that have already, like I showed in the map before, that shows the different areas where fireflies are being used as for firefly tourism, firefly watching for tourism. In my opinion, I still think that the fireflies in Selangor River is still the most popular site, and it contributes to the local socio-economics through boat trips to see the fireflies at night. And Selangor, being the most developed state in Malaysia, so nature area in the state is being pressured from all this development and changes to the natural area. Same goes to the fireflies in Kuala Selangor. So one of the major threats to the habitat, to the fireflies of the congregating fireflies in Sungai Selangor is actually habitat loss. So the breeding habitat is usually that is being converted for the purpose of plantation or fruit vegetable farm. The display habitat where the adults stay usually remain intact because the display trees grow on the muddy plains. So they are usually spared from any clearing. But habitat loss caused by the change to the breeding area will eventually disrupt and disturb the population of the congregating fireflies. So now we shift our focus to the solitary fireflies, and I hope by now you already know that what would be the fireflies that you can find in Bukit Kiara. So, but I will keep that to the end. But I know you know already by now. So the solitary fireflies, they are distributed worldwide. They occur in temperate regions and in tropical regions. Their habitat covers from the lowland forests to the mountaintops, and all these types are all inland forests. In Malaysia, we have identified so far they occur in these 5 types of forests. That is the lowland dipterocarp, the hill dipterocarp, upper hill dipterocarp, oak, laurel, and montane. And within these different types of habitat, they can be found nearby shallow streams, in area that has good amount of leaf litter, herbaceous plants for them to mate, tree canopies that are good enough to shade the area so that it maintains a certain amount of moisture, and also nearby waterfalls. So as compared to the congregating firefly, the way the solitary fireflies exhibit their how they communicate is more diverse. Congregating fireflies, they rely on light, but for the solitary fireflies, their communication is not limited to light display. So for example, this dry luster firefly, it communicates by pheromone. The adults are adults male that are able to fly. The female are in the flightless or larvae-form shape. Instead of being active at night, they are active during the day, and because they are active during the day and depend on pheromone, they have a reduced light organ. However, the larvae is active at night. So we would be able, if we go at night, we will be detecting the larvae of this dry luster instead of the adults. And then for the Pyrocelia firefly, they could either communicate using pheromone or light glowing. And as an adult, the female would be flightless female, and the males are the ones that can fly. And for the Pyrocelia, some species are active during the day, some are active at night. And for the larva, they are also live on the ground, same like the dry luster. For the Diaphanous, the communication is light flashing, and it's the same with Luciola that uses light and they flash the light for communication. But for the Diaphanous, the females are flightless, but the Luciola, both female and male have wings. And for the Luciola, some species are active, mainly active at night, but there are records of them, of certain Luciola species that are not active at night. So both of them are at the larval stage are terrestrial, but for Luciola, some occur in shallow streams and also in ditches. So when we talk about Malaysia, information on the solitary fireflies is limited, and like any other low abundance living things, their survivals could be easily threatened by changes to their habitat. Therefore, secondary forests are an important habitat for them, although we know that ideally a primary forest is the best place for any natural occurring animals and organisms. However, as more studies show that secondary forests are increasingly important for biodiversity conservation, and more evidence also show that secondary forests support substantial biodiversity. So it's very important that we sustain and maintain secondary forests. So what secondary forest is actually the forest that experience recovery from modification, example from logging or from land clearing caused by land clearing for agriculture purposes. So a study we did in a locked over forest shows that firefly biodiversity in area that is recovering in different stages showed variation, and the composition of the firefly species that occur is moderated by the canopy closure, leaf litter depth, and proximity to water bodies. And for the solitary fireflies, there could be a potential as a way to engage the public in creating awareness and love for the nature through probably ecotourism and more for the creating awareness and eco-education. So what we did back quite some time ago in FRIM was to identify the different solitary fireflies that are present in the area. So for those who are not familiar with FRIM, this is a Tropical Forest Research Institute. It's an area size covering 486 hectares. It has a vast green area with forested and recreation that has a recreational function. So the green area in FRIM campus comprised of nature trails, arboreta, camping sites, and gardens. So what we did was we went to 8 trails and 5 green areas to see for the to identify the fireflies in the area. And from the study, we found at least 12 firefly species from 10 genera. And the information of the fireflies in FRIM was added value to the FRIM's nature education and ecotourism. And 2 years ago, we would have managed to do it last year because of the MCO. We organized the first celebration of World Firefly Day for 2019, where we had organized a program, a date with the fireflies of FRIM to be a way of introducing the solitary fireflies to the public. And we are fortunate that the participants were very interested. They enjoyed the walk. They are happy to get to know the solitary fireflies better, and we hope this could be something that we can do further in the future. So going to Bukit Kiara. So in Bukit Kiara, of course, the fireflies that occur here is also the solitary fireflies. And Bukit Kiara, being one of the few urban forests in Kuala Lumpur, also supports a number of species of fireflies. And at least 5 genera of fireflies have been recorded in Bukit Kiara. And the most appealing of the firefly that can be found in Bukit Kiara is the Lamprigera firefly. And why they are appealing is mainly because of the size of this species. The Lamprigera, due to their size, they require about a year to complete its life cycle approximately. And the females, they don't transform as adult flying. Instead, they remain in larvae form area, and the size could reach up to 10 cm. For the adult male able to fly, they are much smaller than the adults, and then the females, therefore, they are able to fly. And for the larvae, the size can reach up to 10 centimeters as well. And in Bukit Kiara, these are the most obvious firefly that we can see, especially at the larval stage. The adult stage is a bit elusive. So far, we have not found, except for one incident, we did find a firefly female that I think Thary will also share with you in his in his presentation after this. So this is some of the things that is exciting with the firefly that can be found in Bukit Kiara. So this is my last slide. I just want to reiterate again that the fireflies that we have in Malaysia is truly a natural gem. Our country is blessed to have both the congregating fireflies and the solitary fireflies. And fireflies are able to be part of our effort in conserving the biodiversity in Malaysia through the different programs planned, and hopefully one of it is through citizen science, which Thary will talk a bit detail after this. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nada. That was amazing, and so many fascinating insights into the nature and behavior of fireflies, their life cycles, their habitats, and within the time available, you've covered Sungai Selangor, FRIM, and Bukit Kiara. But as you said, there are more than 200 sites in Malaysia, right? So there's so much more actually that you could talk about, and I think it would be great if we could try to organize a further series where we could cover more of these sites. Love to hear more of your insights into these different locations. Now, as you said, we in Malaysia are really super fortunate to have both solitary and congregating firefly species distributed across our local habitats, both in the lowlands, in the mountains, and on the river estuaries. And as you mentioned, we will now invite our next speaker, Thary Ghazi Goh, to come on board. And Dr. Nada, just you join us, hang on and join us again during the Q&A shortly. Thank you so much.
Hi, Leon.
Hello, Thary.
Yep.
Good to have you on board.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, just a quick intro about Thary. Thary Ghazi Goh is an ecologist who is currently completing his PhD on dung beetle ecology and trophic collapse at the University of Malaya. Prior to this, he completed a Master of Science at the same university investigating necrophagous fly and beetle communities along an altitudinal gradient. With an interest in community ecology and beetle taxonomy, his research focuses on how groups of fungi, plants, and animals form complex, self-sustaining interactions. As part of the Urban Biodiversity Initiative, UBI, an independent collective of urban biodiversity research and outreach, he is now researching how novel ecosystems consisting of native and introduced organisms are created in urban landscapes, as well as using these landscapes as a platform for education and outreach. Having gotten the broader snapshot of the firefly landscape from Dr. Nada, we are now going to zoom in a little to focus on the firefly colonies in Bukit Kiara, which Thary and Dr. Nada have been studying for some time now, the citizen scientists' initiative and exciting observations that have already been made in the course of their study. So over to you, Thary. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Leon. So yes, today I will be talking about citizen science, a bit about ecology, as well as the mysteries of the fireflies which we find in Bukit Kiara. Before I go into what we've discovered at Bukit Kiara, I'd like to talk first about citizen science, because the approach that we've chosen to study these fireflies is to also involve the public, and this is basically what we call citizen science. It is the voluntary involvement of the public for scientific research. and is where we get the public to participate in solving a scientific question. In a nutshell, citizen science is just that it makes use of it, and it allows just the normal person to participate in scientific research. So it's a way for people to both interact with science and interact with scientists, as well as a way for us, the public themselves, to learn a bit more about the scientific process. So you don't really need a lot to be a citizen scientist. It sounds like a big title sometimes, but it's not. As long as you have just the minimum qualifications, you're physically fit, you can move around in the forest, you have a sound mind, that's enough to be a citizen scientist. So why do citizen science? If you actually just Google citizen science in Google Scholar, you see that there's almost like 2 million hits. Citizen science is becoming more and more popular as an option to do your studies. There is just like so much potential that you can get out of citizen science. So many people have an interest in science or would like to have an interest in science, but just don't have the opportunity to do so. And citizen science projects like these open the doors for that. In fact, in Malaysia, one good case study is the MNS's My Garden Bird Watch program. So every year, what they do was they have this count sheet and they put it out, and from the comfort of your own home, you look outside of your window and you count what birds you see, and then you just submit that count sheet. And that has led to this paper on the right here that explains like how does landscape affect urban birds. And all that data just comes from people sitting in their gardens taking notes. So this is a very good example of how citizen science can lead to scientific publications. And then these scientific publications later can be taken and transformed into management decisions. If I wanted to conserve urban birds, I can refer to this paper and then I can make recommendations on how we can adjust our urban environment to become more friendly to birds. And this is the approach that we've chosen for Bukit Kiara as part of the Magical Mysteries at Bukit Kiara program. I'm sure some of you have registered for this citizen science program. In this program, we are making use of people to come in and hike and help us find these fireflies and help us take down information about the habitats in order for us to find out how exactly do these fireflies live, where do they live, how can we protect them. So part of the things that we have to collect is ecological information. When we talk about ecological information, what we need is things which might be abiotic, which is the non-living things. For example, temperature, humidity, the acidity or alkalinity of the soil, the pH of the soil, or even the moisture of the soil. And there are also some aspects of it which are biotic, or they're part of the living things. For example, canopy cover, like how many trees are around a certain area, or how deep is the amount of leaf litter. So in these photos, you can see our volunteers collecting that data right now. So as I said, citizen scientists can be anybody. So we're ready to run some test runs. And so far, our volunteers say it's quite easy to do, but you just need to do 2 hours of hiking. And it just takes some, you have to put the probe into the ground and take some photos. And that helps us gather the very, very important habitat data. But don't expect a walk in the park, especially for this program here. The mindset in Malaysia is that when you say fireflies, there's like big trees full of congregating fireflies. That is not so much the case in Bukit Kiara. What you do spot is like a solitary firefly. You might walk for like 20 minutes and only see one firefly. But discovering the facts about these fireflies, discovering more about their life cycles, because unlike these congregating fireflies, we don't know a lot about them. And that just makes it very ripe for discovery. Like almost anything that you discover is a new discovery. So it might be a bit of hard work to find these fireflies. It might be a bit of hard work to spot these fireflies, but it is very, very rewarding in the end. So why do we need to collect all this scientific data? First reason is for management. We know that there are fireflies in Bukit Kiara. How can we manage Bukit Kiara? Bukit Kiara is under the management of Jabatan Landscape Negara, and we don't have any information about what is a good habitat for these fireflies. So if we manage to get good information, then we can refer this to the management of Bukit Kiara, and then they themselves can identify properly ecological sensitive sites, and that might help save, help them to protect these sites and save these fireflies for the future generations. Also, by collecting this data, we also understand a bit more of the biology of these fireflies. A lot of these fireflies, we only know them based on a name and maybe a description. We don't know much about the underlying biology. It's still a mystery to us. And by understanding this, the biology of these fireflies, we might be able to understand what do they actually need to breed. And if we can do that, maybe they won't just be confined to Bukit Kiara. We can start rewilding almost the rest of Kuala Lumpur and bring fireflies back into neighborhoods. And an example of good management practice. So you can see the picture. There's this firefly larva here. It's right next to this aquatic cockroach. So this firefly lives in small streams all over Bukit Kiara. And there's one stream that they're particularly common in. And one day when our teams went in, we found a film crew filming exactly on top of that stream. And we came back the next day, and then we found out that they were burning these paper cartons for special effects. And these are the things that hopefully we can avoid by proper management. By having properly outlined ecological sensitive areas, you can say that, no, you cannot film in places like this because it is the habitat of fireflies. So this information is very, very important for the protection of firefly habitat. And also natural history observations are very, very important. When we go into the forest at night and we spot a firefly, sometimes it's doing something. It's either feeding or it's mating, and these observations are very, very important. They tell us more about the ecology. Scientific information is not just about numbers or scientific jargon. A lot of times, very simple notes are very, very valuable. Knowing where to find the fireflies, knowing what time they come out, knowing what are they eating, do they prefer climbing trees, do they prefer the fallen leaves? So all of this is very important ecological information. So there are still some gaps in our knowledge. We still haven't confirmed how many species of fireflies are there. I would suggest we look a bit more before we find out, before we conclusively say that there's X number of species in Bukit Kiara. We don't know what habitats they're using. We don't know if all the visitors coming and all the people cycling down the path, does it have a negative effect or not? We don't know if the firefly population is stable or is it declining. But here's what we've learned so far after 2 months of observation. And this is just 2 months of looking at observing the fireflies in Bukit Kiara. So on the left here, you can see a firefly. This is a Colofotia. And on the right is some of the data that we've collected from it. So this little firefly here was sitting on this leaf and it was doing a mating display. So it was blinking and we recorded a video. And from that video, we put it through some analysis software. And the analysis software could show us the peaks in which it flashes. So from here, we can know when exactly is what's the pattern, the flash pattern of a firefly. And using this, we can create guides based on these flash patterns of the fireflies. It's possible that if we can get the flash patterns of all the fireflies in Bukit Kiara and we log it like this, we can reproduce it in terms of like an animation or We can create like animated guides. So just by seeing the pattern of flash, you will be able to identify this down to the species level of what species you observe. And going forward, this will be very useful for citizen scientists, so you don't have to run off and catch the firefly. You can just immediately identify it based on your eyesight. Also, we've seen almost, in some species, we've managed to observe many parts of their life cycle. For example, this Colophotia, we've managed to catch the mating. So here is, you can look at this picture. On the left, it is a female. On the right, it is on the left is a male. On the right, the slightly bigger one is a female. So usually, it's a bit hard to, especially when we're doing studies to identify or describe specimens. Sometimes it's hard to link the female to the male unless you use some DNA techniques. So if you find a female mating with the male, that means it's confirmed the same species, and therefore that might help us to describe the female species, what the female of the species looks like. Also, in the leaf litter, we managed to observe the larva of this Colophotia. So we kind of know what type of habitat this larva are breeding into. And we were lucky that we managed to spot the larva actually feeding. So we learned a bit more about what exactly are they eating. So you can see that the larva are feeding on these really tiny snails. So that is part of the food chain of the decaying leaf litter. But where do they pupate? This is one of the questions that we don't know. Possibly it is subterranean. Maybe there's something that we'll discover along the way with the help of citizen scientists. So yeah, these are the many stages of life that we've managed to observe of this one single species. But there's more. So we've managed to observe that some species don't just hunt. So this is one of those daytime flying fireflies. This is the larva of the daytime flying firefly. And we found it eating a snail carcass. So this is not a snail that it hunted for itself. Possibly a park visitor was walking along and stepped on a snail and crushed it, and the firefly came out to eat it. So this is evidence of scavenging behavior as opposed to predatory behavior. We've observed several different species of fireflies flying around. So you can see here that fireflies, like beetles, they have a hard shell over their wings, and it splits open when they're flying. Also, very interestingly, we managed to actually find what the nest of those very large Lamprigera fireflies looks like. Through a lot of luck, we managed to spot something glowing from underground. And when we excavated it, we managed to find a female and some eggs inside. So throughout just these 2 months of observation, we managed to locate where is the nesting sites or what is the type of nesting habitat of this Lamprigera firefly. And this is like probably the first sighting of probably ever of a natural nest. So these are some of the important information that's coming out of this type of research. Also, we've seen the larvae feeding. We managed to spot them. This is one of them feeding on a slug. So, so far, we've managed to find at least 3 species of snail which are eaten by this big Lamprigera larva. So we're slowly building up information about their food chains. And by understanding these food chains, we might be able to understand what do you need to protect. Because these snails are so important for the firefly larva, that means if you want to protect the fireflies, you need to also protect the snails as well. But very interestingly, last year, when I was talking about this, last year we didn't have much information. We were just going purely theoretically. And I said that the firefly is probably one of the top predators in Bukit Kiara because it's not eaten by anything else. But surprisingly, what we found is that something was eating it. This is And I've talked to my friends about it, and we're actually not that sure what it is. We know it's an arachnid, but we're still looking into the morphology of it to see exactly what it is. It looks a bit like a spider. This is a close-up of it. But you look at the picture on the left, and you look at the eyes are not spider-like. Usually spiders have 6 to 8 eyes, whereas this only has 2. So it's something completely different. Macro photographers call it the gummy bear. I've not been able to find any other name for it thus far, but it's a work in progress. So this is the type of research, this is the type of really exciting research which is going on in Bukit Kiara at the moment. And hopefully some of you have signed up for the Citizen Science program, and you can join us in this research and help us discover things together. So what else do we need to know, and what can we find out with the help of the citizen scientists? We still don't know much about seasonal variation. We don't know because we've only done 2 months, we don't know if like during the drier or rainy seasons, are there going to be less fireflies? We're still not certain about the habitats of many other species of fireflies. We still don't know what the gummy bear creature is. So there's still so much more to discover. And hopefully we will find out more throughout the next 8 months of this activity. So I've talked a bit about the program at Bukit Kiara, and unfortunately, if you haven't registered for the Bukit Kiara program, unfortunately, the registration is closed already. However, there's still many other citizen science opportunities all over KL. All over Malaysia even. Coming up is the Urban Biodiversity Challenge. If you can go to tiny URL English UBC or Bahasa UBC, you can probably log into that and register for that. That is a challenge to look at the diversity in your neighborhood, in your garden. So yeah, if you missed out on the fireflies, maybe you could try this. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. I think we can go to Q&A now. So Leon?
Thank you so much, Thary. Now, isn't that just absolutely amazing? The observations that Thary has shared on what they're already discovering on Bukit Kiara. I mean, a gummy bear feeding on a lampreygira. It's new stuff which we learn every day. Now, doesn't that just make you want to put your boots on right now and hike up Bukit Kiara with Dr. Nada, Thary, and our citizen scientists? Certainly does for me. Now, with this amazing download of knowledge that we've just had the benefit of from Thary and Dr. Nada, I'm sure our folks here on today's webinar have many questions, and actually I can see a long list of questions actually from the participants who are very, very keen to hear from you on both of you on various subjects. So let's move on to the Q&A portion of today's webinar, and please allow me to invite Dr. Nada back on stage as well with Thary. Hello again, Dr. Nada. Welcome back. And we can begin our Q&A, our dialogue from here. The first question that we have is directed to Dr. Nada. And the question is from a participant called Kaisian. The question is, Dr. Nada, how do we identify the sexes of firefly from morphological features? Or is there any distinctive characteristic to differentiate both sexes?
Okay, thank you, Kaisian, for the first question. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay, so in general, if we are looking at the fireflies that are both able to fly for the male and female, is it possible if we go to this one slide where that shows the therapeutic standard life cycle? There's 2 pictures of the female and the male there. It will be a bit of going back, but what you would be seeing for those firefly that have the females and males that are able to fly, the males would have a bigger light organ, which covers the two final segments of the abdomen. But for the female, the light organ will be only in one segment of the abdomen. So that's a very general way if you want to check their sexes in the field up close. For those that have a wingless or laviform female, then it would be much difficult to differentiate. But we know if we find a flying pyrocelia, for example, we know definitely that's a male because the female is not those that can fly. So that's how we can differentiate the sexes of the fireflies.
Thank you, Dr. Nada. I think the slides are a bit taken some time to get back there, but bear with us. We'll try and get back to those to that particular section in a while. Okay. Question for Thary is the first question is what are we going to see if we go up onto Bukit Kiara? And do we see? Are we going to see congregating fireflies? A lot of congregating fireflies, or are we just going to see a few individuals?
Well, to manage expectations, no, you're not going to see congregating fireflies, and you're not just going to see seeing how many individual fireflies you'll see in a night. Based on our observations so far, it really depends on weather. On like wetter days, like after it rains, they tend to come out a bit more. And on drier nights, you don't really see so much. So it really depends on your luck. But this is really, really important information to record because we still don't know about this variation in activity patterns. And that's a very important thing about ecology. You need also the data of when they are not there. Where are they not? That tells us a lot about where they are found later. So all of this is really, really important information. And so even if you go in and you don't really see anything, don't be disappointed. You're still gathering really important data.
Understand. Now, we switch back to one of the other questions that we have gotten, which is a recurring question actually, is relating to the ecosystem and also basically the impact that ecotourism has on the fireflies. So, overall, what is the impact of ecotourism or its effect on the fireflies, and what do we need to consider in order to minimize that impact?
Okay, thank you for the question. So at the moment, if we are talking about firefly watching tourism, mainly the congregating fireflies, we could still not say that they are being conducted in an approach that is in an ecotourism way, because there are still room for improvement on the way the tour is being handled, on how the facilities, the infrastructure of the tour sites. So in order to sustain the tourism activity, and more important, the fireflies, that is the attraction, is so that they continue to thrive in the habitat, is that we have to further improve on the way we are conducting the firefly watch. There is still a lot of room to improve on that. We are seeing, remember the map that shows the different sites of that use congregating fireflies as an attraction for tourism firefly watching. So there are sites that don't really that can be improved, like the way they conduct the tours, so that it won't disturb the firefly in the long run, which eventually will also make the area not worth touring, for example, to see the fireflies. So we have to strike a balance. And ecotourism is more of not really to get profit solely, but more the target is to make sure that the nature is kept sustainable. The tour is to encourage people to understand more and create awareness. So that's where we should be moving when it comes to firefly tourism in our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nada. Now, we have quite a few questions in relation to the Citizen Scientist Program and the conduct of the Citizen Scientist Program. So I will pose this question for both of you, and then perhaps both Thary and Dr. Naga could offer some input. Yeah. What would the citizen scientists be doing when we go in to do research?
Can you say again?
Yeah.
Sorry. What would a citizen scientist be doing when they go in to do the research?
Okay. So a lot of that, what citizen scientists will be doing is, one, they will be helping us gather habitat information, like in that picture which I showed you. Where they had the volunteers poking probes into the ground and measuring leaf litter cover and all that. Yeah. So that would actually be one of the main outputs that we need citizen scientists to do. That's not so much observing fireflies, but looking at more of the habitat. So we will prepare all the equipment that you need. You just have to show up and follow the protocols. So we already have all the things prepared for you, and we have trainers ready. So all you have to do is just show up and then follow the instructions, and that really helps out in getting ecological information on Bukit Kiara. At least you can understand a bit about what the habitats are like. Also, probably you can tag along with our scientific team as we go to search for we do our normal firefly searches. Maybe it's probably going to be in a very smaller scale. We haven't finalized the details of it yet. But as we go in to look for fireflies at night, few of you can follow along. And as you go along the way, you probably can talk and observe fireflies. And that's how you can gain a bit more knowledge about the fireflies in Bukit Kiara, if we are lucky enough to see them.
Dr. Nara, did you have anything you wanted to add in relation to what the citizen scientists would do?
I think Thary more or less have described in here, because as you know, this project has only been started for 2 months. We are discovering more and more as we go about. But the protocol, the sort of the fine-tuned protocol for the citizen science will be made known. Probably we need more time to come up with a fine-tuned method, but at the moment that's how we can approach it, where the habitat collection data can be done with the guidance of the trainers, and also following us in small groups to get acquainted with the fireflies that we would see first.
Okay, understand. Now, still a whole bunch of questions. So maybe let's try and handle a couple more, and then we might have to get to the close. One question is, in terms of the study of fireflies, and this is for Dr. Nada, in terms of the study of fireflies that has been conducted so far, how extensive is the study? Does it include Sabah and Sarawak? And is there an estimate of how many species may already have been lost, for example?
Okay, if we talk about the coverage of firefly study, mainly when firefly study that has been conducted almost across Malaysia, including Sabah and Sarawak, focus on the congregating fireflies. If we talk about the solitary fireflies, very, very limited number of study. I can only, maybe one of it is the one that FRIM is currently doing, also the project that I did for my PhD. So it's hard to say that how extensive is the coverage, and at the same time, how deep is the information that we have. Like MNS have identified the locations of the congregating firefly zones, 96 of them, but not all of them has been confirmed by collecting scientific data in detail. So those are the rooms of the dearth of knowledge that we know of on fireflies. Even more for the solitary fireflies, very limited number of studies focus on this group. And that's why, like in the introduction, Leon, where from my study alone, we found 5 new species of firefly. That doesn't mean that I did a very good job. It's just that because it's such a understudied group that we are still discovering new species is an indication that indirectly that it shows that fireflies are still a lot to be learned, to be understood, especially in Malaysia.
Understand. Thank you so much, Dr. Nada.
Thank you.
Now, one other question which came in is whether you have identified the host plant for the larvae. Now, I guess this is a bit of a interesting question. And is there a way for someone to rear the fireflies?
Okay. Fireflies, because they are not dependent specifically to plants. As you know, the larvae predates on snails or slugs. They are predators. Adults, not many studies. Some say adults don't feed on anything. They just emerge, mate, lay eggs, and die. Some say they need some amount of nutrient from trees or plants. So so far we have not able to identify a specific host plant for the fireflies. In terms of breeding them, Japan has a long history with fireflies. They are passionate about fireflies even before we know fireflies exist in Malaysia. They have tried breeding in zoos. It took them 20 years to come up with a system, a self-sustaining system for the snail, for the larvae, so that we don't need to know, they don't have minimal, but it took them 20 years, but eventually they say it's too much work. So the conclusion is that if we have it now, please keep it. That's the best and the easiest way for us to make sure that fireflies still occur in our country.
Now, thanks, Dr. Nada. Now we are running short of time, but I think one perhaps final question for Thary is in relation to the citizen scientist initiatives you've been running, plus the potential for rewilding, and based on the insights you're gaining, what are your thoughts on the possible rewilding opportunities for other green lungs?
So actually some of these fireflies, they're not, I think that the habitat available for them might also be available in other green lungs in KL. Like Rimba Ilmu in University of Malaya, Bukit Gasing, Bukit Persekutuan. We do still notice fireflies there. Maybe not as species rich as Bukit Kiara, but they are there. So it's also possible to use, they might be able to reintroduce them sometimes if we can verify that there is habitat available for them based on the data that we have. As well as maybe we can think about, for example, a lot of people complain, now urban planting has become more popular, everyone has like a vegetable garden, and there's so many complaints about snails in your garden. So if it's possible to make our neighborhoods more friendly to fireflies, it might be possible for us to, use that as a natural control against things like snails and pests. And, you can imagine if you have fireflies in your own backyard, that would be something that's very wonderful.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, just the fact that considering Bukit Kiara is secondary forest, right? And what we've been able to find Bukit Kiara, as you say, and the opportunity for us to see how much we can replicate that and support that elsewhere for the benefit of communities would be absolutely wonderful. I mean, as a FoBK volunteer, I can say that the discovery of fireflies has been a source of so much excitement, not just for the neighborhoods that live around Bukit Kiara, but for a much larger catchment of residents and population who have been so keen to come and understand and just to experience. Imagine if we can do that, and or assist with rewilding in other parts, to encourage more such community interaction. Well, I think we have a deluge of questions and we won't be able to finish them, but I think we've been able to handle quite a few meaty and substantive ones, and I'm really appreciative to Dr. Nada and Thary for being able to handle all of these questions in such a easy and organic way. I think before we end this Q&A, perhaps I could invite each speaker to, for any final thoughts in relation to our topic today. Dr. Nada.
Thank you, Leon. It has been a nice session. I can see from the many questions that are posted on the chat that you are all very interested, very enthusiastic, and I know you are passionate about the fireflies. Thank you for that, and we hope that this encouraging and this excitement continues as we go and develop the citizen science project. And I look forward to hopefully meeting more of you in physically, and not just during this webinar. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Nada. Thary?
Yeah, I look forward to meeting a lot of you during the citizen science programs. So, exciting times for us, and more discoveries ahead. Yeah.
Yes, and also to answer a few of the mysteries if possible.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll find it.
Absolutely.
But most likely we'll just have more questions in the end.
Yeah. More mysteries added in.
And that's part of the fun of this whole journey, right? This whole process that we learn together, we discover mysteries together, explore together. So thank you so much, Dr. Nada and Thary. It's a real pleasure having you.
Thank you.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
nice to be here.
So thank you, everyone. We have come to the end of our Q&A with our speakers, and also to the end of today's webinar. Just a reminder, this today has been quite a blockbuster of a webinar, fantastic content. But don't forget, there's one final blockbuster webinar on Tuesday, the 27th of April at 9 p.m., featuring more amazing speakers like the ones that we've had today. And we encourage you to please do sign up and come and listen in on Tuesday, 27th April, 9 p.m. We look forward to seeing you then. This whole webinar series has been supported by Tenaga Nasional, and we are thankful for their support and their continued encouragement. The Habitat Penang Hill is also a partner for this Earth Week collection, and the Habitat Penang Hill is an iconic hilltop park at the edge of the pristine rainforest of Penang Hill. Once up there, you will enjoy the forest and also breathtaking views of the island. Your visit helps channel funds to the Habitat Foundation, which is working to conserve biodiversity in Malaysia and beyond. Habitat Penang Hill has very kindly offered all of us attending this seminar a 30% discount for entry. So please do download your voucher, which you can see. For a glimpse of what is in store for your visit, let me leave you with this lovely video. Thank you everyone for joining today, and see you at the next webinar on Tuesday, the 27th of April. Thank you very much and goodbye. See you again.